Львівський муніципальний мистецький центр.
Okay, thank you all for coming. Good afternoon. So I'm Louis Armand. This is David Viknar, Sandra Paslovska, and Taiko Say. We're coming from Prague, and we're presenting a project, or presenting the beginnings, the foundations for a discussion that will build towards a project called Existence as Resistance. And we've come to present some of the work that we do to give you an idea of who we are as potential partners for you to be involved with, and also to give you an insight into the kind of things that are happening in Prague, and that have happened in Prague in the sort of the independent, underground, DIY kind of scene that we're involved in through the collaborations and the collectives that we work with. Some of the stuff that we have here, I'll just talk about the things that I brought, and then Taiko and Sandra talk about their things. David will present the microfestival. A couple of magazines that are Vlak magazine that we worked on for 6 years, which is generally an arts magazine, poetics, visual arts, digital work, synthesis of all sorts of things, concrete poetry, and so on. Literary Pregenzia, this is more of a theoretical journal, and it deals with sort of digital culture and towards AI, things like that. A couple of books from an imprint that we have called Literary Pregenzia. This one's Pornotopias. It deals with the relationship between consumer culture, image culture, and the notion of kind of capital and pornography as a sort of a paradigm of the economy of the image. And there's Alienism. This is a project that we worked on for a while with a collective called Interior Ministry. It's, again, a publication that works as a kind of an argument. Okay, it presents an argument or an interpretation of, or a critique, a cultural critique, through the organization of images and texts and collage and stuff like that. And we got a whole lot of postcards too from Alienism, which you're welcome to take, and some from the microfestival, which David will introduce right now, I think. Yeah.
All righty. Thank you, Louis. Thank you all. Prague Microfestival has been happening for the past 15 years already, 2009 starting. It underwent an evolution through various forms. It migrated around various Prague venues. It never stuck to being this one thing, but over the years it has crystallized into this fusion of the written, spoken, performed word, music, art, and performance. So it's really not your usual traditional poetry festival where a guy with a mic is entertaining you for the next insufferable 15 minutes. It's from its inception, it operated, it existed in a bilingual fashion, in English and Czech, in the sort of the global Esperanto, as well as the local and very minor vernacular, speaking in Lviv as a Czech to Ukrainians. We know what it means to come from a small language, as it were. And this meeting was always interesting, was always fruitful. Anyone who's ever translated will know it's a poetic activity. The transfer, metaphor are taking place all the time. So students from Charles University, or Louis and I are based, were invited to participate in these translations and get their first, sort of sink their teeth into first sort of literary translation projects and whatnot. Out of these translation projects arose anthologies over COVID, where we couldn't really invite people over. We would go digital, and then we thought, in order to leave something after these non-events, virtual events. We publish these bilingual editions. Some of them, all of them, very innovatively designed and uniquely formed for each occasion. I should also mention over the past couple of years, there have been colloquia and what's called critical encounters, debates on current topics. Last year's was decolonialization. And we had actually Svetlana Matvienko from Kyiv, an expert on Chernobyl as a historical catastrophe and an event, but also as a philosophical problem, as an issue in the current geopolitical landscape, etc. She came over. We've talked about our rage against the algorithm, for example, back in the pre-COVID times. Then COVID became a theme, so we spoke about virology, COVIDology, etc., etc. So out of these past couple of years, we've published these bilingual mirror anthologies of some of the best texts, and quite recently we've also been lucky, fortunate to become part of a Versopolis network of literary festivals, and so we were able to invite Lyuba Yakimchuk, who I take it is pretty known in this part of the world, and to publish her festival-presented poems in both the original Ukrainian Czech translation and the English translation. They're all here, the anthologies as well as these individual booklets. They're free for you to take, sample, talk to us. And I'll hand over to Sandra and Taiko. Thank you. Here's your fuzz.
I like this. So my name is Sandra, and with me is Taiko, and we represent Object Paradise. And we've arrived to Lviv yesterday, and it's been so great so far, and thank you very much for having us here. And I wanted to introduce you to Object Paradise as a collective. So we are a poetic/performance collective based in Prague, Czech Republic. It's been started in 2018, I think, by Taiko and our friend Jeff. And since then, we are focused on organizing events and also working with other media. And our main focus is to organize immersive experience, very immersive poetic experience. So to show that poetry is not only for a certain group of people, but it can be very interactive and very open, and it can have many forms. That's why our curations are usually very interdisciplinary. So we have poetry performance, music, installation, sound, kind of everything. So we want the audience to be involved in what's happening and not be only passive audience, right? So we want everyone to choose whatever they want to see and whatever they want to interpret, and choose the way they want to interact with the art. So our main media is the art events, but also we produce annual movie, kind of documentary on the art scene in Prague, where we live. And also we make the zine. It's called Crouch Zine. So it's like, because everyone...
It's because you said crotch and then you kicked.
Sometimes we kick crotches too. But everyone has crotch is a funny concept. That's why it's called crotch. And we take it kind of seriously, but not taking it seriously. So we gather works of people living in Prague, some texts, some collages, where we produce it ourselves. We just print it in our living room. And we want to have the artifact of the art life and the culture that's going on there. And yes, we came here to see what you guys do here and how we can cooperate in the future with you. And maybe from now, I will give the microphone to Taiko so he can tell you a little bit more about our future plans, perhaps, and also brief you to the event that we had last summer. And we're also going to present you a documentation of that event.
Cool. Nice one. Thank you, Sandra, David, and Louis as well. And thanks for being here. Yeah, so as Sandra was talking about, our collective is Object Paradise, has multiple things going on at once to promote the idea that poetry isn't just a literary thing. Last August, we we did a curation with a collective from Slovakia, from Poland, and then also from Hungary. And the purpose of the curation was to question what a poetry reading could be, what are the challenges that current poetry readings and structures of poetry readings face, trying to answer this question of why do poetry readings sometimes feel boring? Why do people not go to poetry readings? How can we make poetry readings more accessible, interdisciplinary, fun, punk, a party, a celebration of culture, of language, etc., all of these things together. And so we gathered people from these different cultures, and we tried to erase or get rid of preconceived notions of like what a poetry reading is, and try to create those conventions together in a weekend across 2 countries for 3 events. And one of those events was on a train from Prague to Krakow, an 8-hour performance of film screenings, performances, readings, these kind of things. And so the film that we'd like to share with you guys is documenting that event. And the purpose of us visiting, as we talked about, is to see what you guys are doing, but also to think about what we can do together for future kind of projects and collaborations, whether it's a regional curation between different collectives like what we will see in the film, or if it's something as creating a zine together, talking about practices of performance, arts, and poetry together as well. And so after the film, we'd really like to have chats with you guys and see what you're up to, see what you're interested in. And as we said, everything here is free. We brought a bunch of like I don't know if you can call it literature. Some of it is literature. Ours is not literature. It kind of is, maybe. Everything's free. We want to share with you guys. We want to hear what you're doing and how we can collaborate in the future. So thank you for that. And I guess we'll play the film now. Do we have anything else to add? I'd also like to thank Lviv Art Center for inviting us here to have a chat and share some of our stuff in our little Prague community with you guys. So I'll put this here.
Yep.
Cool. And I'll say one other thing. What has been playing back here is like what happens at our Object Paradise curations, but also in Prague, kind of our circles as well. And this was, we do a film every year. This was the one from 2 years ago. So.